So if I could cast your mind back to a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more. So how did you hear about your sort of apprenticeship, well, this apprenticeship or the vacancies?
So actually, I came from college where I have failed my A levels. I was in a position where I didn't really know what to do with myself. So because I wasn't informed that there are such things as science apprenticeships, I went on to look for them online. And I basically just began searching up like science apprenticeships in my area, because I was not informed that there is such a thing where university can provide me an apprenticeship. I believe that if you go to university, that is only where you can get your degrees and they're not actually providing apprenticeships. But I ended up coming across Cambridge University page where they advertise their apprenticeships. So every year, I believe now there's 2 more apprenticeships coming in. So we're trying to like extend our technician base from what I got told. So it is just as simple as looking for yourself, really.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think hopefully, I think things are changing. I think, but it's very school specific. It's very college specific, isn't it? As to how much people hear about apprenticeships. So I know some school probably do a lot more than others. But at least now, even at least in UCAS, the platform that people apply to universities, there is a section on apprenticeships that you can search on as well. So again, that's another area that's relatively new. So that hasn't really been around for very, very long. So that's interesting. I don't think your story is you're not the only one. I'm sure a lot of people probably have been in your same boat where they wasn't sure what to do. They haven't really heard much about science apprenticeships, and it's only by browsing around the internet you found something. So in terms of your background then, so you've sort of touched upon the fact that you haven't done so well with your A levels. I mean, have you always been interested in science? So can you just talk me through a bit more about your background, just in general?
I actually only came to England about 9 years ago. So with my background, I wasn't aware there was anything rather than just going to university. My whole life, I've been told that without a university degree, I'm not going to get very far, and I'm not going to have a good job. I'm not going to be paid well. I'm just going to be miserable, basically. So when I started getting interested in something like this, I very much realized that this is something I would like to do, which was about year 9, I would say. I must have been about 15, maybe 14. So because I didn't know about the apprenticeships, I was like, to do science, I need to go for a university degree. So I decided to do my A levels. I very quickly realized that I'm not a textbook style student. I absolutely hate sitting with a textbook, hoping it goes into my head. I'm so much more hands-on, and this is something that when I figured it out, I was so happy that I found. And coming from a poor background, it's not something that I've been told is possible. So I'm very proud to be finding all the different ways and advocating for people like me who didn't have the information.
Yeah, no, I think there's still that stigma, isn't it, of science, and to do science you need to then do the normal academic route. And I think you're absolutely right. As I said, you're not the only one who finds just textbook learning just wasn't for them. And I think this is where apprenticeship can come in, is you have the hands-on experience. And I think the other thing which I know a lot of people find really beneficial with the apprenticeship is that and that's ideal, is where you learn something in theory and then you put that into practice sort of straight away. And I think that sort of embed or reinforce the learning, and a lot of people will find that quite useful as well. So, and I mean, my next question which is sort of following on. So, which you may have already sort of answered that to a certain degree. So, what really attracted you to the apprenticeship route then, apart from the fact you realised, you weren't really a textbook person?
So, this is this might sound very selfish, but at that point, I was looking for a job. I was looking for something that would be able to provide and that I would be able to live off. So I was actually looking for the money at first. But when I realized that I can work in something like this, I did a bit more research and I spoke to the managers around here to find out that they actually invest in a lot of education for the apprentices. So besides the salary, I think the practice and the education that the department puts into their students really encouraged me to take this role.
Yeah, and not to mention that obviously if you were to go to university, then there's a huge sort of tuition fees you have to pay, and then obviously living expenses. So yeah, it's it's the ultimate sort of pro for an apprenticeship, which is you're earning something whilst you're also learning something as well, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So so you mentioned you are sort of almost the end of your apprenticeship. So how do you think your role changed during your time on program? Thinking back to the beginning and maybe now, how have you developed, do you think? The role developed, or maybe how you've developed too?
I think I grew a lot as a person, because I've realized that even because of my young age, as I am only 19, I'm not being looked at as a child, where in, for example, a lot of my previous jobs, my employers would look at me and be like, oh, she's only young, it doesn't really matter. But I think I grew as a person and the confidence grew with me. At the start of my role, I was very timid. Like I did speak a lot still, but it was just one of those things where you come into the unknown. And now I have a lot of connections with people in all different parts of the department. I've worked with a lot of different technicians now. I've done a lot of outreach events where I've spoken to younger students and other bits like that. So I think I grew as a person, and the confidence has also grew with me.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe just tell me a little bit more about the outreach that you do.
Yeah. So I most of the outreach is something like this, for example, where I don't as much advertise myself, but I will say that I'm more than happy to help with any of the kind of things. So I became a student ambassador for CSR, scientific learning. So any kind of questions that they have for someone that is doing the apprenticeship, I talk with students, with my colleagues, and I come to get an answer, for example, on the health and safety and the well-being. But I've also done a bunch of presentations. So I'm one of the main apprentices in our, I want to say, like, department, where I do a lot of talking. So there is a this thing called Physics at Work that our physics department does at Cambridge, where we have kids from all over the country between the ages of like 13 to 16, 17, that come in and listen during the day from many different groups. And they get told about the apprenticeships, about different science routes, about inequalities and gender in science. And I've actually presented on my own, where I've spoken to over 600, about 600 students in about 3 days on the apprenticeships. So it depends, but it's mostly surrounding the idea of an apprenticeship and inequalities for females in science.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you how important that is actually, to give up your own time first of all, and to do these sort of outreach activities, because we as an organization can go around and talk to employers or students about apprenticeships, but we don't speak as loud as as coming from someone who's actually been through the program, or going through the program and talking about the apprenticeships. I think it speaks a lot louder. You can speak a lot louder than we can ever can. And and just for everybody as well, so Oliwia has won our inaugural, the first CSR community sort of award last year for exactly that, for the outreach work that you've done. I think it's something to be celebrated, and it's also something to be recognized as well.
Thank you.
So So yeah, how do you think, I mean, yeah, as I said, you're coming towards to the end. So how do you think CSR as a training provider has helped you develop during your program?
I actually think is the support system that CSR has.
Mm,
I found that all of my teachers and my vocational coaches are absolutely amazing. And any kind of person I've spoken to from CSR is lovely and engaging. There are things where if the people are nice, it feels so much easier to engage with the things that are happening.
mm,
And I think the support of knowing who the uh, pardon me,
mm,
mental health first aiders and
mm,
the people that you can confide in, it's good to know who they are. And the more
mm,
comfortable you feel around them, the better you feel like you're doing because you can turn for help.
mm,
So, for example, my teacher, Sarah Vickridge, she is absolutely amazing. She
mm,
provides us with everything we might need. She is constantly helping us, constantly sending resources, always marking our work on time. And I think the support that we get from our teachers is absolutely amazing. And I think that is very good to have as an apprentice, as you are still
mm,
learning and you still need that background support from people.
mm, mm.
So I
Yeah.
think it's the support.
Well, that's very nice to hear. I think we realize, I think as a training provider, as an education institution, is teaching is not just about the academic teaching, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
more just as much about sort of the personal side. That I think the pastoral support, I think sometimes can be slightly underestimated. I think how much of an impact that might have. So well, I'm really, yeah, really glad to hear that you know we've helped you sort of
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
that regard. So obviously the training provider is only one side. You know, your apprenticeship is not just about sort of your academic training. In fact, it's only a small part. You spend most of your time at work, don't you?
Yeah.
So you're also going to need someone who's going to be very helpful and supportive in your workplace. So can you tell me a little bit more about your support network at
Yeah,
work as well?
of
Yeah.
course. So I started off having one main manager who
Mm,
represents all of the apprentices. He has changed since, but his replacement, I'm not sure whether Emily's here, she was meant to be, um, are very good. So because they oversee the apprenticeship program and a couple of other things, like they manage the laboratories that we have in the department, they are able to connect us with other people. So I have found that within my team, I am very valued as a team member. And if there is anything that I should be aware of or any support that I need, I can like always turn to them and they will always inform me of anything surrounding my person, my progress, apprenticeship, anything. So every single person that I've been working with has been absolutely amazing with helping me develop my skills. So for example, I started off in a clean room,
mm,
uh, doing semiconductor science and what else did I do? Cryogenics. And I'm currently working in physics of medicine with a completely different manager, but he is just as good as the first one. And I've also worked in, oh, I always forget the name, material science and meteorology, where I'm working on
mm,
my 3D cell structures. So all of the support is everywhere. It's not just one person.
mm,
Everywhere that we put our apprentices, including me,
mm,
get that support. So if I feel like I connect better with one of the other managers, I am still able to email them and they will be able to help me.
mm,
So it's just a massive network of people that you can turn to get
mm,
different experiences from at the same time. They will
mm.
always support you no matter whether you're with them or not.
Well, yeah, no, I think yeah, that's great, and I can see so how you know perhaps your confidence has probably grown as a result, isn't it? I mean, to
Yeah.
speak in front of 600 students, not on the same day necessarily, but over, yeah, that's massive. That's not easy. Not many people can say that they've done that really. So
Yeah.
that's great. So now, I mean, having been an apprentice for what, almost not just under 2 years. So if you were one day, and hopefully you will be one day, where you are in charge of a department, where you're thinking about an apprenticeship program, what do you think will be the most important aspect when it comes to planning one?
I think the structure,
Mm,
uh, apprentices like me need structure. We
mm,
need to know what we're meant to do and not feel like we're left alone. Because a lot of the times I've heard that when you do an apprenticeship, your days get really boring, you get very frustrated, and there isn't that structure. I personally haven't experienced that, as I think mine was very structured, but I think it's very important that we know what the progress steps are as apprentices and know who to turn to if there aren't as many as we would like there to be. So if I wish to progress with something else, I am still able to go to someone and be like, this is what I would like to do. Is there any way I can do this? And have that route like written out in a way that it becomes like a very known route that I can turn to if I need to.
Yeah.
So a lot of structure and a lot of routine.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important. I think having that structure of so that everybody knows what they're doing and at what time. I think that's very, 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 very important.
Absolutely.
So coming back to your sort of your immediate future then. So what you're hoping to do, when you finish this apprenticeship?
So actually I know, but I don't know at the same time, because I'm very open for anything happening and I know things happen. I'm hoping to go into their level 5 technician scientist in biology. The university said that they will have my back if I do wish to do that. But other than that, I do have a guaranteed job in a department after this apprenticeship, whether I choose to do a level 5 or not.
Sure.
And I'm just hoping to stay in the lab. Really, I enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy working with students, academics. I want to just stay in the lab, really.
Well, that's good. We definitely need people like you. So that's great. So I think what you sort of highlighted there as well is something I've sort of mentioned earlier, is there is that progression route through apprenticeships, and I think that's a big change, I think, compared to quite a few years ago, where apprenticeships were there's not as aligned to your academic sort of world as much as it is now. You can, as I said, you have kind of level 3, going up to level 5, and then go up to level 6, and even go up to level 7. So you can have that sort of route through just apprenticeships itself. I think that's a massive change. So so one final question, Oliwia, is what piece of advice, or what advice you would give to anybody who might be thinking about apprenticeships? What would be your take on that?
Stop stressing yourself out and give it a go. You never know what can happen, and the more you stress out about it, the worse you're going to make it for yourself. Just give it a go and see if it's something for you. Well,
short and sweet. I like that. I think it's sometimes you have to try it, don't you, before you find out whether something is for you or not, right? Okay. So well, thanks very much for your time, Oliwia. That was really good. It's always nice to hear someone's journey from right at the beginning, how they found out about their apprenticeships, how they've learned, how they've developed during that apprenticeship as well, and how they've come out of it. Obviously you're quite early in that journey. There's a long way ahead for you, and hopefully apprenticeship can still play a big part in your future sort of career. So
I'm confident that it will.
I'm sure it will. Thanks, Oliwia. So
thank you very much.